Greetings and welcome to presentation 6 of Event Horizon. It's appropriate that it is number 6 because that is the topic of this particular presentation, which, depending on how long it takes to talk about this, I may have to carry it over into future videos. Number 6, and I'm sure most of you will think of 3 sixes with this one, but it's not what you think it is at all. Quite the opposite, in fact. The answer, of course, is always yes and no to every question, and there are 6 burning questions that we all want answers to. They are the who, what, where, when, how and why. They're actually very easy to answer, but let's before we sort of go into that, let's have a look. This app, this matrix, is a game, and what better way to illustrate it than with playing cards? 4 suits, each with 13 in them, making 52. It is the minor arcana of the tarot cards. Tarot being a variation of Torah, Taurus field, your aura. See, at the moment, because these are brand new, they're all nicely in order. King, Queen, Jack, through all the numbers. But of course, I'm not actually going to do it, but I'll just do it as it were, as if I am doing it. If I shuffle them, they're going to be all over the place. And now you no longer have order. You have chaos out of order. And that is exactly what you have got. When they talk about creating order out of chaos. But that is their order. Their new order is in chaos. Because the dark side is all about that. This is what is also talked about, squaring the circle. Now, a square is not something you will find in nature. We basically got to turn this round and circle the square. Contain it and bind it within a magnetic golden circle. Because that is basically what it's all about. So let's just talk about the who. The first question, who are we? Well, we are a presence in the present. That's the simplest answer to that one. What are we? Well, what is a measurement of power in energy, in electricity in particular. And that's all we are. We are energy. So what is also the answer to the question in this? Where are we? Well, again, we're in the now. We're a presence. We're a present in the presence. A gift, as it were. When? Well, again, that is now. That's all there ever is now. Everything that's past has gone. Everything that's in the future hasn't got here. We are subject to time, but and we are subjected to time, you could say. And one in particular, who I thought was, for a nasty moment, was actually appearing naked, but was actually in a green outfit, with a very coded message in a 4-minute speech. The Queen of the Hive, basically saying that they have this adrenochrome shortage, and notice the reference to evacuated children in 1940 in Operation Pied Piper, saying it right there if you listen very carefully and understand what is being said, and saying that we will succeed as a nation and around the globe, of course. How I've sort of basically answered, because they've created chaos out of order. This is actually going quite a lot easier, these questions that seem to be big questions, because like everything else, the answers always are very simple. The why, well, that's exactly what they've done. in this male form, being true to my form, as I've said before, I know I've been crossed. There's my X chromosome, and if I'm true to this male physical form, then I do need to be asking why. There's your answer to those 6 questions. So 666 is not necessarily evil, unless you want it to be, because we are 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. See, the dark side are very good at muddling everything up, doing that shuffling with the cards. You'll notice the fake religious Jesus does this, as above so below. You'll notice also that the image of this goat-headed Baphomet also does this as well, because it all comes from source. They're both telling you the truth with that symbology. But of course the dark side have twisted it, so they put the image of the good one with the bad one, because Israel is Ra-El, the one masquerading as the other. There's a lot of speculation, or has been a lot of speculation, about immortality and mortal. Well, immortal, I'm mortal. If there were giant trees producing far more oxygen, then we would have been far taller than these mysterious sea people that came in. They go by many names and hide behind many masks. You can call them Jesuits, you can call them Jews, you can call them what else? Israelis. You can call them Zionists. They're Phoenicians, Viennese masks, the mask balls. As Martin on Flat Earth British channel and the Martin Liedtke channel has showed you with the old books, these strange looking things don't look exactly the same body shape as humans. They've done everything they can to try and fatten up the herd with fast food and supersized portions, so we resemble them, because they like to hide behind many masks, because they are basically, like was shown in Lord of the Rings, the elves and the orcs. Another perfect example of this is Gollum. The greed has consumed from within and created this very ugly exterior. This is also the analogy being shown with the Dracula films and Dracula not having a reflection, because they can't face themselves. They can't face their shadow side because they are a shadow side. Only yesterday I had a sort of unwelcome visitor, or a couple of unwelcome visitors in a sort of non-human form, but just a case of saying whatever and walk away or ignore it. Don't give it the attention, because where the attention goes, your energy flows, and that is exactly what they're trying to do. Problem, reaction, solution. But we need a soul lotion. It needs to be cleansed of all this. I'm hoping, and I say I'm hoping because I can also see there's a universal law to all of this, that it follows exactly the sine wave pattern. We're about to go into a golden age, and maybe at the end of that golden age, things go from, if this is the 6th version of humanity that we're going into, which is an even number, Eve-N, N being Lord, then perhaps we then go into an odd number and things are very odd again. I mean, certainly things are very odd in this, towards these dying embers of this 5th age. Now, notice I said embers, because you have September, October, which really is Octember, November and December, the dying embers when the sun is at its weakest. Because that follows the sine wave as well. It rises from Aries towards summer solstice, and then it drops down past the fall equinox because it's falling, and then it hits the winter solstice in the dead of winter where there is least light, and then it begins to rise again, and it arises, and it goes through the Passover in the Jewish religion, where it passes the equator. There's nothing new under the sun, not even the sun itself. Everything conforms to this universal law. So make of it what you will. But a big question that does come out of this as well, we've got this experiment going on with the C words, which won't go on for much longer because obviously they want the money from oil, they want the tourist trade. Their own greed is their own undoing, because while they're doing all this, they're missing out. But of course, they're missing out on adrenochrome, so they give us a version of that by creating this illusion and shortages and things. There is no shortage. The food is all stored. It's just trickle fed to us like the information through their medium of the media, whether it be the mainstream mass media or whether it be the controlled opposition media. You have to use your discernment, because even in the controlled opposition, they will tell you a lot of truth. And it may only be, as I've said before, just 10% that is wrong. But it creates a sound vibration, so whatever they do is leading towards their undoing, because it is self-destructive. But remember, the dark side are the best teachers we have. What are we here for, you could say, is just really to have an experience to take back to source. That is the one thing. You can't teach experience. You can only gain knowledge by going through an experience, whether it be in mind, body and soul. And there's your own trinity, your three in one within yourself, the mind, body and soul. These numbers can be taken in both ways. The numbers themselves are neutral. It depends on which way you're looking at them as to whether you think they're good or bad, and of course what perspective you're coming from. To the dark side, people like myself will be seen as evil because they don't want us sharing this information and working things out. They've done everything they can to keep things hidden from us. But they're not that clever. It's encoded in words for a start. It's encoded, I've seen it on so many adverts where they use red and blue. Just look at the flashing lights on the top of a police car, a red and blue light. It's showing you divine masculine and divine feminine right there. Just in that. Hot and cold taps as well. But fire and ice can both burn. But which burns you more? Is it the fire or is it not the ice that gives you frostbite? And yeah, you can blister and it can be very painful when you burn, but being burnt by ice is far more. And ice obviously goes with blue, whereas fire goes with red. Red being the divine masculine, blue being the divine feminine. This is why you always get the Mary draped in a blue outfit in the depictions. Once you start seeing these things, you can't unsee them really. It just gets easier and easier to see through all of these things. Listen to the reverse speech of these puppets that a lot of people think are politicians, but they are just actors and actresses playing a role on a stage. This is why you have Acts of Parliament. Even if you were to get on a bus, you will find you go into a lower deck or possibly an upper deck. Note the marine term there, like a ship's deck. You also have fare stages because it's another stage. It's in everything. Everywhere you look, you're going to find the answers to all these once you start to see things. What you do need to do is look at the spiritual and look at the truth-seeking. The two things are a marriage. You could say like the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Another little analogy or an observation I can give you to this is cast your mind. If you've ever been to a psychic fair, you'll find generally there are far more women that go to those than men, because men have the ego, the alpha males, and it's all a load of hocus pocus, of course, which we know is not. But the truth seeking tends more to be more men than women. It's this union of the two that is needed with all of this, and it is lovely to actually see that a lot of the channels from both sides of that spectrum are now actually starting to talk about things like adrenochrome, for example, from the spiritual side, and the truth-seeking ones are now moving more towards the spiritual. it's the marriage of the two, the divine masculine and the divine feminine within one. This is why I married myself. You could say, and I'm going to be very sort of tongue-in-cheek about this, excuse the pun, that you put it on that finger, not on this finger, because you want to push it in as far as it'll go. Anyway, got to add humour into these things as well. Maybe a bit of dark humour, but it's still humour. Because there's always duality to everything. Even within good and bad, there is a light and a dark aspects to both of those. The dark side will find humour in the things that they inflict. The good side will find a different type of humour. Look at the way that laughter can be cruel, or it can be something that lifts the spirit, or it can lower the spirit of the one that is on the receiving end of that laughter. It can be a very cruel thing, but it can be also, laughter can also be a wonderful thing. Again, it depends on the intent behind that. At the moment, we've got this silly thing about loitering within. Loitering. What am I loitering with intent, or am I loitering without intent when I'm out there? Personally, I've not had any bother. If anything, what I am getting is a few stares and things. I even got called Jesus today as well. It's fun. I was like, oh, that's very original. Maybe because I've got beard and long hair. But I didn't react to it. I didn't respond to it. Now, that brings me on to another point that I also wanted to bring up here. Those of you that do not know of his channel or have not listened to Lee, Flat Earth British sub-channel, his Vanavlogs. Wow, wonderful. Now, here is a spiritual guru. I have listened to his channel, and I've seen the transformation. He is becoming this wonderfully wise spiritual being that he really is. He's embraced and found himself, I think, and he's saying about staying neutral. And listen to his Vanavlogs where he talks about these things, because it is a personal, like a personal diary, like I do as well. This is a personal diary, and this is an alternative to your mainstream media. These are unscripted. They are our own personal thoughts from experiences and sharing the information, because sharing is caring with all this. What are we up to now? 17 minutes 44. It's always a 44 with me. I weigh 144 pounds. 44 is the number I see on the clock most. It's not exclusively the only number I see. I see 88% or 33% on the battery. They're what is known as angel numbers. Just acknowledge them. I mean, you can go down to doing an internet search and put in angel number and then the actual number that you're seeing that recurs. You may see it on a speedometer on a car. You may see it on the clock. You may see it on your phone on the battery. It can come in all manner of ways, and something will draw your attention to it. It could even be on your washing machine if you've got a digital washing machine, and you'll see these same numbers coming up over and over again. They're often, I'd take them to be little confirmation signs that when you've done something or said something, when you've created sound vibration, for example, that you're on the right track. It's almost like, well done, that's what you were supposed to do. It's the whole reason of making these videos. It's just to try and explain things, hopefully in an original way that will make sense. And I want to say a big thank you to all the wonderful comments that so many of you have left, and I am trying to go through responding to them, but I only have this phone to work with, so I can only do one thing on the screen at a time. And I've lowered the quality of this video because the last one at was it 23 minutes, it took, would you believe, 8 hours to actually upload, which was excruciatingly slow. But patience is a virtue, and it's still a now, and all the ringing in my ears that's now suddenly come through again, I think it's there all the time, I just don't notice it, but it just changes in pitch, and that's when I do notice it. And you'll find that with any sound. Pay very careful attention to what's going on with nature as well. Anyway, I've digressed off the thing I was going to say as well. This experiment that's going on, there will be something bigger to come. This will all suddenly be lifted. It looks like it's going to be. They're going to obviously observe Beltane at the end of April, and it'll probably be lifted after that because they want the dancing round the maypole. I'll leave that to your imagination, to the sick connotations of that one. I think most of you that listen to this channel will readily be able to work out what that is actually a representation of. It's basically another obelisk. Um, so yes, then we'll have this sort of temporary lifting of everything, and then it will be plummeted. So it has to be something bigger than this current madness, which they've said is an experiment. What could it be? It's got to be something huge. Now I'm going to make a prediction, and I think this is where they're playing their trump card. Remember the announcement of the sixth wing to the military called the Space Force. So don't be surprised if it isn't this fake alien invasion that everybody will see. It will be a perfect excuse to use the direct-to-energy weapons and target specific things. Because they always, no matter what the false flag event is, there are real deaths. There are things that make it look believable because it is all a deception. But they rely on, and they do rely, they use these deceptions they play on humanity to trick humanity into going along with it. And the moment you buy into that fear and you go along with it, you're basically playing right into their hands. So this is why I'm not really talking about this current thing. I see plenty of posts, and like I said before, Dead Sea Scrolls, I find myself, I see them, it's just dead information that is not going to draw my soul energy towards it. So it's scrolling. There's a Dead Sea Scrolls for you. Which I think I mentioned on the previous video as well, or the one before. But they're out there, they're gone. I'm just watching those grow in numbers. It's planting seeds, allegorical seeds. I'm not actually planting seeds of plants and things. And thank you for the feedback about what's going on with those. This is really the best way we can do this is observe things in your local area and share that information, because while we have this restriction of movement, aka petrol rationing of World War II in that scenario, same script again, just dressed up in a slightly different way on a slightly different stage, 70 odd years later, or 80 odd years later basically. But we can't go out there and go to different areas and compare, or even different countries in the world. But and of course they will play things out in a slightly different way. The United States, because there are so many people with guns there, they cannot risk a backlash. So they will play it in a more militaristic way over there, whereas in the UK it is very tiptoe, sneaky backdoor, and relying more on the fear aspects and played out that way. And they will play these things out slightly different in what the illusion of nations. But bear in mind, they're obviously based on something that was there before them. This is the thing to remember with the dark side. The only thing the dark side can create, because that is what it's looking for with this whole transhumanism, is a way of creating, because it cannot give birth. This is why you have this absolute hatred of divine feminine, because it's the one thing it is missing. So the only thing it can create is destruction and death. But of course it doesn't want to deny itself its own food, so it never fully destroys anything, because it will want to use it again and again and again. And we have this loop within us, as Black Sheep Researcher showed you, with the 8 symbol in the hip bones. In this physical reality, we're tricked into coming back over and over again. This is what the white light at the end of the tunnel is all about. Same as in the courts, they trick you to come back because you're a food source to them in this physical realm. They want to bring everything down into the physical. because they debase everything. The red, the lowest chakra, the base chakra, they debase it into something beyond that in their own twisted way of doing things. We just need to turn it round and bring it back. But we need to go, not so much reverse it completely and tip the scales too far the other way. We need to find a balance in the middle. Now, where is the balance in these chakras? Well, as above, so below, three above, so three below, right in the middle, get to the heart of the matter, because we are matter in this matrix. It's the heart. That's where you want to be. Do things from the heart, the magnetic energy. Now, the magnetic is also very important because we are sound vibration, we are energy, and sound is sonic. So what have you got on the front of sonic that is sort of running things, or one of the aspects that are running things? M-A, May, sonic. And we're coming up to May as well. So quite a few thoughts there to look into. So basically, don't be fooled by the 666 as being evil, because like any narcissist, they project out. But this is like the reverse thing. They're saying the 666 is evil because we are the 666, because we are 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons in this realm. So duality to everything. So is 666 evil? Yes and no. The answer to everything is always yes and no, as Holographic Multiverse has told you time and time again on her channel. So I will plug some more channels that I feel are worth listening to, but of course you need to use your discernment with everything and get as much information as you can. But of course, don't forget, keep all the cards on the table. Never write anything off and dismiss it. The moment you stop, you think you've got all the answers and you no longer question and try and fit everything around that, that's where you're being tricked again. Quest Ion is a question, as king, asking. Regardless of whether you're in a male or a female form, you are as king when you are asking. So I will say ta-ta for now. Stay in high vibration, but most important of all, stay neutral. I'm not going to stay safe, say stay safe, because a safe is, what is it, a trap? You're locked in. Stay free is the answer. Be sovereign to yourself. Take back your power. Don't give it away. Do not be tricked into giving it away. So ta-ta for now until presentation 7. That could be an interesting one with the number 7. Anyway, I wish you all well. Thank you.